All right, let's dig into a puzzle that pretty much lives inside all of our heads, our attitudes. Specifically, we're going to explore that really interesting and, let's be honest, sometimes frustrating gap between what we say we believe and what we actually do. So, yeah, let's get into it.
I mean, seriously, who hasn't been there? Deep down, something isn't great for you. You have a really strong opinion about it, yet there you are, in the drive-thru. This little internal conflict, it's actually the key to understanding a huge piece of human psychology, and we are going to unpack it right now.
So, first things first, before we can really get why our actions sometimes go rogue, we need to get super clear on what an attitude even is. What are we actually talking about here?
And really, at its core, it's that simple. An attitude is just your evaluation of something. It could be positive, negative, maybe somewhere in the middle. It's just your personal take on anything and everything out there in the world.
Now, here's where it gets interesting, because an attitude isn't just one single thing. It's really a mix of three different parts. First, you've got the cognitive part. That's what you think or believe. Then there's the affective part. That's all about how you feel, your emotions. And finally, the behavioral part, which is how you plan to act.
And this is just a perfect way to see how those three pieces really click together. Just think about any politician. Your attitude towards them isn't just one thing, right? It's a combo of what you believe their policies will do, how you feel about them personally, like do you trust them, and then how you actually act when it's time to vote.
So that kind of begs the next question. Where do these things even come from? I mean, we're not born with them, so how do we end up with all our very specific likes and dislikes?
Well, it turns out our attitudes are shaped in a few key ways. You've got conditioning, where we learn to connect things with good or bad results. There's cognitive evaluation, where we're actually thinking and weighing the evidence to form an opinion. And then you have cognitive anchors. These are like our earliest beliefs that kind of set the stage for everything that comes after. But, one of the most powerful ways is just plain old observational learning.
We're social creatures, right? And so much of what we come to believe is just picked up by watching the people around us. We see how our family, our friends, our role models react to things, and we absorb those attitudes as our own, sometimes without even thinking about it.
Okay, so we know what attitudes are, and we have an idea of where they come from. Now, let's get to the main event, that mysterious gap between what we believe and what we actually do. This is the million-dollar question, isn't it? It feels like we should be totally consistent, like our actions should just be a perfect mirror of what's going on inside. But as we all know, reality is a whole lot messier than that.
You might have a really strong positive attitude about voting or feel that it's super important to help people who are struggling. But just having that attitude doesn't automatically mean you're going to vote or that you're going to donate. Turns out, the road from belief to actual behavior has a few key checkpoints along the way. So, here's the deal. For our actions to really match up with our attitudes, a few things need to fall into place. First, our thoughts and our feelings. They've got to be on the same page. Second, we think about whether our friends or family will approve. Third, we have to actually believe that what we do can make a difference. And finally, if you have direct personal experience with something, you're way more likely to act on it.
And now we get to the really wild part. What happens inside your brain when you do something that goes against what you believe? Well, there's this powerful psychological mechanism that just kicks right in to fix that conflict. It's called cognitive dissonance. It's that squirmy, uncomfortable feeling of tension you get when your actions and your beliefs are out of sync. And our brains absolutely hate this feeling. It sort of threatens our idea of who we are, a stable, consistent person, so we're super motivated to make that feeling go away. So let's go right back to our fast food example. It is the perfect way to see this mental balancing act happen in real time. We're going to walk through the steps.
Okay, so you start out with a clear, solid belief. You've seen the documentaries, you get the facts. Fast food is bad for you. That is your cognitive position. But then, life happens. You're in a rush, it's easy, and you just give in. You take a bite, and now your behavior is in direct conflict with your belief. The battle has begun.
And there it is, that uncomfortable feeling, dissonance. Your brain is basically screaming, warning, inconsistency detected. So to get back to harmony, something's got to give. You either have to change your behavior, or maybe you change your belief.
And here is the truly mind-bending part. According to cognitive dissonance theory, it's often way easier to change our beliefs to justify our actions than it is to change our actions. So to make that uncomfortable feeling go away, your brain just rewrites the script. You know what? Fast food isn't so bad after all. In fact, it's awesome. And just like that, the conflict is resolved. So our internal world is always shifting around to keep things consistent. But what about the outside world? I mean, there are tons of forces out there actively trying to shape and change our attitudes every single day.
Psychologists have a model for this, and it basically says there are two main paths to persuading someone. First, you have the central route. This is when we're convinced by facts, logic, good arguments. It works best when you're motivated and really paying attention. Then you've got the peripheral route. This is more about mental shortcuts. It uses things like an attractive spokesperson or good music or catchy slogans, and it works best when we're not paying that much attention. This is a fantastic example. Think about an ad for a new phone that lists out all the technical specs, the processor speed, the camera megapixels. That's using the central route. It's appealing to your logic. But an ad that just shows cool, happy people using a beautifully designed phone with great music playing, that's the peripheral route. It's all about your emotions and what you associate with the product.
And whether either of these routes works depends on 4 key things. First, the source. Who's actually delivering the message? Are they an expert you trust? Second, the message itself. Is it logical or is it playing on your emotions? Third, the audience. Who's listening and what do they already believe? And fourth, the channel. How is the message getting to you? Is it a TV ad or is it an article in a scientific journal?
So I think the big takeaway here is this. Our attitudes are always being molded, both by our own actions and by all these outside forces. So the next time you see an ad or listen to a speech, or even just find yourself justifying a guilty pleasure, you can kind of step back and ask yourself, what's really going on here? And that, right there, is a pretty powerful way to see the world.